Hello everyone, my name is FlareBlitzed and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo, continuing Lilly's route of the game, the fifth and final route of the game itself, which I'm very sad about actually. I thoroughly loved this game. I walk down the hall of the girls' dormitories, my school bag in hand. A doll lies inside, carefully placed on top of a small box. I've been carrying a box in there for a while now, still not sure what to do with it. This whole situation, come to think of it, is bizarre. While I've known of Hanako's upcoming birthday for a while, I had no idea of exactly what the celebrations would be until I found a single note left in the abandoned tea room earlier today. I'll hold it up and read it again, double checking the instructions, but plain black handwriting is fairly legible despite Lily's blindness. Carefully thanks to considerate effort and care. Hi Sal, we will be holding a party at my place. Please come at 6 o'clock to room 225 in the girls' dormitory. Sorry for notifying you this way, but I have class representative duties. Lily Sato. Not reassured, I continued walking down the hallway until I reached Lily's dormitory room. I hesitated for a second, but eventually give three sharp taps on the door. A brief and muffled exchange of words can be heard from the other side. Listening closer, I could just pick out Hanako and Lily's voice. As they finish, Lily calls out, "Might that be Hisao?" "Yep, I got the note you left me. You can come in. The door's unlocked." Glad I managed to get the room right. Right room, sorry. I press down on the handle and let myself in, and as the door swings open, my greeting to them is stolen from my mouth. And this is what we are greeted with. Lily sits at a low table in the center of the room in her pajamas, while on the other side sits Hanako in a nightgown. Being dressed in only my normal school clothes, I feel quite out of place. I stood a quick glance at the lovely side of the two, my eyes tearing in themselves from Lily's long, thin and pale legs with only a measure of reluctance. I think I brought everything that was needed. She smiles and nods. I wonder if she's even aware of the pleasant sight she makes. The thin, dark blue slick of her pajamas really suits her, accentuating both her eyes and her curves. The look of her last night, that tentative and almost shy demeanor, seems all but replaced by a coy nature. It's nice to see her confidence returned, though I can't help casting my mind back to how she looked back then. And I look to Hanako, who nervously sits opposite her in her gown. It isn't a surprise that she wears something so conservative, though it definitely looks cute. "Hi Hanako, happy birthday." Thank you." She's unusually skittish, despite the fact that she's warmed up to me considerably over the few weeks we've come to know each other. This is a pretty unusual situation, I guess. Feel free to take a seat. "Hi Sal, I'll just pour you two some tea." "Sure thing." I'm more of a coffee person. I'm not going to complain if somebody makes me a drink. Lily takes the steaming red teapot from beside of the table and gently pours its contents into our teacups as I take a seat beside them, sitting my back against the nearby wall. I'm not going to lie, I think Lily's bed is unusually untidy, considering her nature. With my senses returned and hormones somewhat... Yeah, stop it! Get your hormones under control, man! I realise that this is the first time I've ever been in Lily's room. The first thing I noticed was the ambient smell, just slightly different from that in mine. Probably faint perfume or nail polish. It could be anything of a girl's, really. Another is the plain nature of the room, visibly. Beige walls, a smart yet unadorned cabinet, the lack of posters or wall hangings is undistinctly Ulterior. That word. I've struggled with that word before, so I should have anticipated given her blindness. The only thing that really seems to be out of the ordinary is several piles of books sitting on the floor, each reading from roughly knee height to waist height. Some of them have printed tiles, others are entirely blank except for dots of braille. The fact that the ones with printed tiles are uniformly in English, and it's interesting. Though not completely unexpected. She did mention her parents impressing the language upon her, Akira after all. "Your room looks nice, Lily." I heard a call of thanks from beside my shoulder. Looking back at Hanako, her gaze is fixed on her lap and her hands are nervously clutching her ground. It's now that I notice why. With these clothes on, the extent of her scar is far more visible, reaching down her neck and out to cover her right shoulder. Considering this is a party for her, she doesn't really look like she's enjoying the experience now that I'm here. So how old are you turning? 18? This is a rude question to ask! Her look of surprise, not at all helped by her total lack of skill at hiding her feelings, shows that she was trying to mentally tune me out. This is really quite awkward. Yes. On the plus side, there's only 2 more years to... So who was older? We stop asking girls their ages, man! Don't you know it's rude to... Lily, she has her birthday in February. What about yours? Earlier this year, so it's already passed. Unstated, but it is passed while I was in hospital. That was a particularly low point of experience. Conversation with her dries up as quickly as expected. As quickly as I'm going to gulp down this tea because it's so delicious. It isn't long before Lily's finished preparing our drink, setting down the 3 teacups in front of us. I pick mine up, immediately noticing a much stronger aroma and taste than the tea we've been having. It tastes different than the tea we have in school. It's a different variety, rather than the kind we've been having here. You've never tasted orange jaipa before. Not that I can remember. I usually drink coffee after all, like when we were in the town. This is nice though. As we settle down and sip, Hanako seems to be more relaxed, or at least a bit less tense about my presence. We all finish our cups at about the same time, with Hanako failing rather badly at hiding anticipation for the cake that's sitting to the side, begging to be eaten. Come to think of it, I'm feeling very eager myself. First things first though. Lily? Yes, now is good. Each of us knowing exactly what the other means, I lean sideways and dig around in my bag for the doll I brought Hanako as Lily gets up and retrieves her gift. Hiding our gifts in our hands, we both present them on the table at the same time. Happy birthday! Hanako silently sits looking at them for seconds on end. Out of sheer surprise, my little wooden doll, replete with a Victorian-era dress and little hat, lies next to a light brown and fluffy stuffed bear from Lily. She clutches her at her gown as she moves to speak, not taking her eyes off the modest presence. Thank you, Lily and Hisao. Ah, her voice begins to crack as Lily reaches forward, wrapping her in a soft embrace. Ah, the sight of Hanako holding Lily is so tightly is heartwarming, so much so that I couldn't wipe the smile off my face even if I wanted to. As Lily gently rests her face on Hanako's head, she speaks so quietly and softly that I can barely hear. Happy birthday, Hanako. Happy birthday. Hanako gives a small nod, holding on to Lily for a time before breaking off and wiping an eye. I guess that for Hanako simply having anyone, to be there and love her would be special. The fact that Lily and I can share that role for her is something I think I'll always be grateful of. Ah, Hanako gently takes the doll and teddy bear, holding them both to her chest as she warms Smiley. For a long time, all 3 of us simply sit in happy silence. The quiet is not broken until Lily's soft voice beckons. Shall we have at the cake then? Her proposal was met with 2 looks of unhidden anticipation. No argument from me. Okay. Phew, that was good. I contentedly sit back, both Lily and Hanako looking just as satisfied with the food as I. It took some effort, but we managed to finish off the cake in one go. I don't think I could fit any more in. I think next time I'll buy a smaller cake. Hanako and I give a chuckle, but I can't help noticing that. Come this time next year, we'll have graduated from Yamako. But that is somewhat depressing, since I finally feel as if my life is starting to get back into some kind of order. Idly looking at Lily's neat and orderly room, her books catch my eye once again. This may be a little impetuous, but my curiosity gets the better of me. Besides, I don't think she'll mind in any case. Hey Lily, do you mind if I take a look at one of your books? You're quite welcome to, Hisao. That said, if you can overcome 2 language barriers, I would be quite impressed. 2. Braille and... Oh, right, English. She gives a nod. I knew you were studying English, but I'm still amazed that you're this proficient at it. One could say it's a perfect way to avoid people borrowing my collection. Yes, exactly. Exactly that. She says it in jest, but I'm a little disappointed. Having all these books around with no way of reading them feels like one big tease. But it's not a tease, it's just a language barrier for people who need to read in Braille. Hanako giggles quietly as I reach over the closet pile. Closest pile, plucking the topmost book with only a curious glance. Death on the Nile in large letters on the cover is the only printed text to be seen, because people who aren't blind need to be able to read what it says so they can give it to a person who needs it in Braille. Let's see, I sit down for a while with the book open on my lap as Lilly and Hanako talk. Try as I might to fill up the dots of Braille printed on each page, we seem to blend into one another and become indistant. I'd thought this to be a lot easier than it actually is. With some practice, though, I could see someone with a better sense of touch than mine managing to read at a pretty fast speed. Noticing the signs had probably began earlier, I looked up for the dotted page. From the dotted page, see Lily smiling as Hanako sips another cup of tea. Is something wrong? Quite the opposite. Your curiosity is quite endearing. I am inordinately pleased by the praise, though I can feel my cheeks heating up a little. Thanks, but I don't know how else I could act. To be honest, I wasn't altogether sure of how you saw us, since you were a new transfer student from another school. If you pitied us, I would have been quite offended. How would I... Anyways, there's no room to pity someone when you don't even know them. Also, when you get to know somebody, then you can make the differences between, okay, this person is not a person that I could possibly get along with on a day-to-day basis, but I could at least say hello, to a person where I'll be like, hey, how are you? And get to know them. I'm not that sociable, by the way. There's a certain edge to Lily's voice, one that I'd quite possibly placed as pride. Glancing over to Hanako, she seems even more subdued than usual, looking towards Lily rather than me. I wouldn't worry about that. Considering the position I found myself in, I'm perhaps the last person that should be dispensing pity on others. My parents' first interaction with me after my heart attack. I don't want anyone to see that kind of face. I catch myself from going any further, but not soon enough. Both of the girls seem to be put off, Lily especially. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have gone that far. An awkward silence reigns for a few beats, faintly ended as Lily's head perks up in a gesture I've come to easily recognize. Hear something? The door. And of course, it's going to be Akira. Hello, Akira. Akira Sato is in the house. Happy birthday, Hanako. Thank you. Akira takes a seat at the table as she plops her tall bag beside her. She has her trademarked boisterous air about her, making no small deal with her entrance. Hanako clutches her gown to steady herself, but doesn't appear too shaken after she settles down. I guess she must have met Akira before, not a huge surprise given how close Akira and Lily are. Akira doesn't seem to be at least a bit put off by Hanako's scarring, despite its prominence, but she also doesn't pull any punches in how she acts despite Hanako's shy nature. I thought you said you had to work, Akira. Did you manage to get off for a while? Kind of. I feel bad about ditching the guys doing overtime, so I've got to get back soon. But I felt bad about not coming to your cute little Hanako's birthday too, so for now I'm here. She grins widely at Hanako, who flowers into a full blush. She pins her eyes downward towards her lap. Her mouth seems to widen and retract over and over, as if she was trying to suppress a smile out of embarrassment. It's a little strange how her reaction seems to be more immediate and forceful than when she's embarrassed by the way she looks. All she manages to give in return is a tiny nod, failing to hide her appreciation to any great extent. Not that many people give her positive attention. I suppose it makes me respect how well Akira can handle her, making her so happy. Compared to what little I could do, come on, man. Now then, before I go, she reaches into the bag beside her and grandly displays its contents. Out comes 2 large glass bottles, both with long French labels on the names on the labels. Hanako's expression is an odd mix of surprise and curiosity. I suspect mine's no different. Lily, not seeing the proceedings, is oblivious of what's going on. Akira, this isn't... what is it? Wine. 1 red, 1 white. Akira, that's... Relax, relax. It's not Shizney's here to scold you. Lily has a point. That's not exactly allowed on campus. Or anywhere, really. We're still short of the legal drinking age, remember? Rich words for someone practically drooling as he examines a bottle. She's got me there. I am genuinely interested in trying some, even just a little. While Hanako may not be handling one herself, her look does tell me she's far from opposed to the notion as well. Lily rubs her forehead, giving up the fight that she knows Akira would win due to simply not caring enough about those funny rules and regulations. Just don't breathe a word of this to anyone at the school, please. I beg of you. I'm not stupid, don't worry. That said, I gotta get back to work pretty soon. So soon? But you only just arrived. Sorry, Lily. Good to see you two again, though. And you, Hisao. See you later, then. Goodbye, Akira. Okay, this time it's only very soon. She levers herself up with a grunt and waltzes out of the room, leaving us alone with the 2 items on the table. Great. Yeah, interesting. Lily gives a nervous giggle at her sister's antics as Hanako takes a wine bottle. So, what do you think, Lily? She rests her elbow on the table and pinches the bridge of her nose, thinking things through. She really doesn't seem to be able to keep up with her sister. Well, it's already here. We may as well have some. No sooner does she say it, but I take a quick glance around the room for glasses. And a small groan above me reminds me that Lily retired to rest on her bed for a bit a few minutes ago. Almost completely drained of energy, I managed to stand up and drag myself to the side of the bed, sitting down and leaning my back against it. Good God. For goodness sakes, man. Moderation, all that. Ugh. Lily's groan sounds lifeless. Too much to drink? My head hurts. Yeah, too much to drink. I rest my head back and idly stare at the ceiling. What an unmitigated disaster. Like proper idiots, we all drank the night away with one glass after another. Hanako simply fell to the side asleep, and it's a miracle I don't feel as ill as Lily. Hey, Hisao. I'm sorry about today. I didn't think this would happen. It's fine, Lily. To tell the truth, I had a lot of fun today. Really? I think Hanako did too. No, she certainly did. There's a short silence before another groan resounds from the supine Lily. You okay? As you said, I just drank too much. What's the time? The timer, it's... I quickly look at my wristwatch. Its numero is barely legible in the gloom. About midnight. Curfew's in effect, then. Yeah, I guess as much. We'll all have to sleep here for tonight. As soon as I say it, I hear the sheets moving as Lily starts to sit up. Hanako? Oh no, go back to sleep. Don't try to get up. Hisao, I have to. You're in worse shape than me by any stretch. Get some rest. But what about... I'll grab some spare blankets and put them over her. Don't worry. As I give a deep yawn and stand to retrieve them, I hear her lie back down with a soft thud. Thank you, Hisao. No problem. It's the least I could do. You look outright wasted. I'm not wasted. Just a little bit tired, said the person that's wasted. She starts pouting. A slight slur begins to distort her words as the alcohol takes hold of her again. I grab a couple of blankets rolled up at the end of her bed. Quietly walking over to Hanako, I carefully lay the blankets over her peacefully sleeping figure, making sure not to wake her up. The thick smell of alcohol coming off her breath makes me doubt she'd wake up no matter what I do, though. I stand and take one last measure of the room. Thank you, Akira, for leaving early. Oh dear. 2 girls, both very drunk, and 1 guy sleeping overnight with them in the female student dorms. What a scandal that'd be if it broke out. As I move to sit back down at the side of the bed, I steal one last glance at Lily. Her sprawling disabled figure lies resting peacefully, slightly turned to her side. I crouch down to get a better look. Her white skin blends in with the white pillow of the bed, a look of slumber-born peacefulness on her face. It is a peaceful look in a way. Usually she seems so confident and forward, always there and caring for Hanako. Now though, she seems painfully delicate. I think back to Hanako's present. I thought it'd be a nice occasion for her, but I hardly expected it to be so moving. One birthday after another, year after year, just she and Lily, all alone. I guess it wasn't just the presents she liked, but company too. Resigning myself to an uncomfortable sleep, I sit down at the side of the bed once again and rest my tired arms beside me. Hey, Hisao? Lily's voice is so quiet I can barely hear it. She must be on the verge of sleep. Yeah? Thank you. Thank you for what? For being here. That's okay. As I hear a deep breath, it's obvious Lily's gone to sleep. After closing my eyes, it doesn't take long for slumber to take me as well. Goodbye, dear world. Hisao? Hisao, are you? The soft, barely audible voice lingering in my ears slowly wakes me. I wish I could be awoken like this more often. Remember, I slowly open my... Oh, taken by surprise, a face hovering curiously millimeters from mine. I make our heads collide with a hard thud. The impact of our fall has caused both of us to fall backwards and yelp in pain. Lee sounding more like a squeak toy than a person. Ow! I slowly rub my forehead with one hand, supporting myself with the other. Lily lies a few feet ahead, doing the same. Her face obviously pained. Ah, sorry. Your face was kind of close and I acted on reflex. You okay? My head. It seems she's not actually okay. Come to think of it, I doubt that the impact alone is what's causing her head so much pain. Yeah, I wonder what caused it! Hangover. You drank a fair bit last night. She slightly nods in confirmation as I lever myself up. Okay, I offer her a hand and help her get back onto her feet. Glancing behind her, I find that Hanako is still fast asleep. It's not fair. I only drank as much as you did. That's very different from what I remember. And anyways, girls have a lower tolerance than men. That doesn't help. Fine, I'll get you a glass of water. Just be careful not to trip over Hanako. I rub the sleep out of my eyes, or at least some of it, as I walk to the counter. Tending to someone with a hangover isn't the way I like to spend a morning. It only takes a few seconds of the glass to fill, the clear water reflecting the sliver of light that makes it through the thin curtains. It looks like Lily's taking a seat on the side of the bed. I walk over to her while taking care to step over the peacefully sleeping Hanako and place the glass into her outstretched hands. Thank you. No problem. I take a seat next to her, the soft bed having a surprising amount of give. She drinks slowly and methodically. A long silence passes with only Hanako's soft breathing to be heard. With some measure of guilt, I look at Lily's face and attempt to read her expression. Her brow is furrowed, and she looks to be lost in thought. For a moment I hesitate, but eventually place a hand on her shoulder in an attempt to reassure her. I did expect her to flinch rather noticeably at that, though. Ah, sorry, I didn't mean to... Lily quickly shakes her head, in a manner somewhat more violent than usual for her. She takes a long breath to steady herself before letting her head sink. I must look terrible right now. I'm moved to protest, but quickly realize that it would be futile to do so. That said, I want her to open up more. If you want to talk about anything, I'm here. Lily gives a self-deprecating snort, as if to mock her own emotions. There's just a lot happening right now. I'm sorry for being so strange recently, especially back when we were in town. Even now I'm a bit confused about everything. Believe me, I know how that feels. She smiles wistfully, resting her cheek on the back of her fingers. We're a couple of broken young fools, aren't we? Come on, don't say that. Congratulations. We'll be back out into the real world. The real world? Sometimes I surprise myself with the way I think about things. I guess the strange, divorced feeling of Yamako and the surrounding town compared to the outside world doesn't become natural. Maybe it never will. It's strange in hindsight. Being isolated from a society like this doesn't feel as bad as it probably should. A weary grin on her face, Lee seems to share the same sense of amusement at the idea. Eventually, though, her smile drops. I'll be going back to Scotland for a week or two soon. Is that why you had to reschedule Hanako's birthday party? She gives an affirmative nod. You'll be able to see your family again at least. You're not looking forward to it? I haven't met my family in 6 years. I don't even know how to act around them anymore. Wait, what? My mouth hangs open as I try to process what she said. If she's 18, that means she'd have been only 12 when they left. I may have seen very little of my parents, with them both working long hours, but that's... I felt utterly useless as I struggled to find some way to respond. But why? Why did they leave? Or why are they inviting Akira and me back? Both, I suppose? My father's business has its headquarters in Scotland, and an executive position became available for him there. In the end, we had to move permanently. My mother followed him, but Akira and I stayed in Japan for the sake of both Akira's job within the Japanese branch of my father's company and my education. As for the latter, one of my aunts is gravely sick. I'm sorry. Don't be. It feels strange, really. We're being summoned there for her, yet we've barely met her. I can't even remember the sound of her voice. Equally strange is the total lack of antipathy she feels towards her family for doing such a thing. I can't help feeling slightly humbled. That said, her wistful exterior is just hiding her emotions. Seeing her like this is depressing. Knowing what to do, I lift myself off the bed. Lily notices the bed's movements, her head perking up and her hand reaching sideways to feel where I was. Hisao? I walk over to my bag, still leaning against the wall, unbuckling the front flap and retrieving the opaque bag from within. I take the small plain box in my hands. Hold your hands out, Lily. She looks surprised for a moment, but eventually acquiesces. I'm amused by her look of curiosity when I place the music box in her open palms. Her typically delicate way of handling it, making it seem as if it were fragile enough to break if breathed on. Do you not remember we have a friend sleeping right here? She wordlessly brings it in front of her, her slender fingers feeling out its contours and patterning. Eventually her fingers find the recessed line between the lid and the body of the box, and her thumb effortlessly pops open the lid. I take a seat on the bed next to her, watching her face silently and intently. She sits completely motionless as she listens to the diminutive tiny melody, her mouth just slightly open. It takes a long while before she closes the lid with a small snap, bringing the curtain down on the miniature performance playing in her hands. The smile on her face, gentle and wistful, shows me that I made the right decision. Think of it as a going-away present for your trip to Scotland. I will. A restless shuffling can be heard from the floor in front of us, the sound having woken Hanako. She climbs out of the blankets I pulled over her, looking befuddled and wiping the sleep from her eyes. I see you're finally up. What? Hanako looks around the room with her eyes only half open, her mind far from being as awake as her body. Her dazed state makes me and Lily chuckle. As Lily gets off the bed and tends to Hanako, I take one last look around the room. I guess I better get going, then. There will be questions if I am seen leaving the girls' dorms in the morning. Goodbye, Hisao. Oh, goodbye. I stand and walk to the door, picking up my somewhat lighter bag along the way. After I leave the room and enter the hallway, though, I see Lily's footsteps behind me. What's wrong? Without a word, she strides up to me. I freeze as I feel her hand slide onto my cheek, seemingly every nerve taking in the feeling of her fingers and palm upon it. Immediately after, her face slowly moves next to mine, a light momentary touch of her lips brushing against my other cheek. For a moment, everything seems to stand still. I absent-mindedly bring my fingers to my cheek, as if I try to recapture the fleeting feeling. Lily? That's my thank you, Hisao. Thank you? For your present. Have a nice day in school. And with that, she disappears behind her door and gently closes it, the muffled voice of her and Hanako audibly through it much as they were yesterday night. I think I'll be hard-pressed not to have a nice day after that. I walk away with a sudden spring to my step. I think there are some people around that glanced at me emerging from the girls' dormitory buildings, but I find it difficult to care. Indeed, that is the case. Hi-chan. Go away. Hi-chan. Leave me alone. Come on, Hi-chan. Let me sleep. After 2 nights of not being able to sleep at all, the last thing I want is to be woken when I finally manage it. It may be the last period of class with a textbook as my pillow, but I'll take whatever sleep I can get by this point. See, Hi-chan? Even Sai-chan wants you to get up. I don't care what Sai-chan wants. Leave me alone. Jeez. Hi-chan, I just have to wake. Wait, Misha's going to... You... This is bad. I'm up. You don't have to. I can feel my face flowering into a scarlet red blush. The students still in class are sitting bolt upright and staring at the shouting fool who was sleeping just moments ago. Damn it. I let my head smack back down on the table with a noticeable thud. Wahahahaha. Mish's trademark uncontrolled laughter reverberates throughout the classroom. As I turn my mournful eyes to the bespectacled Shizune beside her, she carefully adjusts her glasses, desperately trying to maintain a look of serious disapproval. Now in my eyes, I can see the badly hidden grin spreading across her face. Et you, Shizune. Shizune looks away quickly as she crosses her arms tightly, barely on the edge of her control. Wahahaha! Mish's laughter doubles in volume as she glances at Shizune. All I could do is drag my hand down my face in resignation. You two. Who was the one who slept in class, Hi-chan? Yeah, it was me. Poor Sai-chan was having a fit trying to wake you up, weren't you? I moved my eyes back to the standoffish Shizune, who with a single huff of confirmation returns to looking away with her crossed arms. Why was Shizune trying to wake me up? Sai-chan wanted to give you the handouts the substitute teacher gave out while Hi-chan was asleep. Handouts? I suddenly find 2 sheets of paper thrust down in front of my face. I can't see it! It's too close to my eyes! Following the hand holding them, I see the still pouting figure looking down at me with a distinct scowl. I guess I really am in the wrong here. Sorry about that. No dice, the irritated face it still holds. I clasp my hands together and flick my head downwards in apology. Very sorry. She huffs and simply drops the papers on the desk. Damn. I look up over my hands to see Shizune and Misha signing frantically to each other. A look of frustration in Shizune's face. It looks to be less of a dialogue and more of a tirade, punctuated with a sidelong glance at me. To say it's unsettling is an understatement. The two suddenly stop signing and look at me in unison, both having exactly the same look of disapproval. In one fluid motion, Misha's hand suddenly extends high above me and comes rocketing down. Before I can even hope to react, my head is sent bouncing up and down like a jack-in-a-box. I quickly bring my hands to my head, more out of reflex and actual pain. Oh, what was that for? Of course. I open my eyes to see the two grinning at each other while exchanging enthusiastic thumbs up. Sai-chan says she forgives you now, Hi-chan. Could you forgive me with a little less force next time? I look at the two with a blank face. Misha and Shizune, 1, Hisao, 0. Oh, Sai-chan also says that you should check your student mail more often. Oh, she produces a bright yellow envelope and hands it over with an exuberant grin. Strange. Who could have written me a letter? Now's not a time and most definitely not a place to find out, though. Indeed. Giving up on an episode cruelly stolen from me, I rub my forehead and slowly get up, putting the sheets and envelope in my bag before swinging it over my shoulder. I take a step back and move to depart with a small bow while Misha clutches herself sides laughing and Shizune nods back in a court farewell. Thank you very much for not embarrassing us anymore. I joined the flow of students exiting the open door and turned the corner into the hallway. Hanako. Only end up face to face with Hanako. What? Hey, Hanako. Good afternoon, Hisao. Silence falls between us as busy chatting students pass by us. She's fidgeting constantly, her eyes drawn to her rather unremarkable footwear. I tape the bridge of my nose and my fingers while I blink my eyes heavily in an attempt to make things seem clearer. I'm barely staying awake as it is. Hanako, you want to say something? What is it? I wanted to give you this. She holds out a small rectangular piece of paper. I barely began to make out the text, though barely open eyes. Slowly started to make out what's written. It's a shopping list. Eggs 2, bread loaf 1, whole grain cereal 1, time 1. A shopping list? I look upwards, raise an eyebrow. I usually go shopping with Lily, but I can't come, so... You want me to run errands for you? It's okay if you don't want to, I just thought that maybe, She's panicking. I sigh, yet another battle lost, though this time by weakly fought surrender. I smile tiredly and rest a hand on her head to calm her down. It's fine. I was going to go anyway. Just the stuff on this list? She nods then bows deeply, twice as if to make her gratitude perfectly clear. We're going to meet outside the school gates at 6. Thank you. I was going to get it, but I need to study for the test tomorrow. Test? Ah, that's right. Science. How are you doing with it? She brightens ever so slightly. I've been spending more time on it than before. I think I can do okay. Good work, then. She too starts smiling, and much more earnestly than I at that side. I have full confidence I can do fine in it without any extra studying, but the fact that she's putting in the effort instead of just reading the library is heartening. I'll grab your stuff and take it to your dorm in the evening. See ya. With a small wave, we part ways. I'm going to do my homework before meeting Lily. I should be able to take extra care of it in time. In time! Wrangling with a particularly complicated math problem has caused me to be a little bit late for my meeting with Lily. Only a couple of minutes, but enough to make me step smartly out into the courtyard and to the school gate. I'll make a right turn and start my way towards the small town below, leaving a few students turning the other way to the bus station. I slip my right hand in my pocket as I walk into the orange sunlight of dusk. Thankfully, the sweltering summer heat starts to die down, making way for a pleasant cool breeze. When I stretch my hands high above my head, a familiar figure takes form, cane in her right hand. Ah, Lily. She stops and turns around, swiveling her head slightly to try and work out exactly where the voice came from. Hey, it's me. I quickly catch up to her, coming in beside her and matching her slow pace as we resume walking. Good afternoon, Hisao. Hi there. I glance up at the sky. A distinct tinge of, almost a distant there, of orange discolors the clouds. Watching the footpath in its light. Long shadows from the trees fall across the wide road down the hill. My bird. So, Hisao, what brings you here? Just going to town to grab some groceries. Hanako sent me. Hanako sent you? Yeah, she said she needs to study for a test tomorrow. I was going to come down anyway, so I'll just buy her stuff as well. Unspoken is that Lily really could use some help to get food, but it's an obvious fact that neither of us needs to stay. It's good to hear she's studying for it. I thought the same when she asked me to come with you. We continue walking down the street, the familiar sound of her cane echoing through the air as we go, except for the occasional passing car and the leaves whispering in the branches. There's a blissful silence. Thank God I can finally relax for the first time today. I glance over at Lily. The porcelain face of hers never seems to lack that air of relaxed confidence. I guess the same could be said of her personality too. As she silently walks, her face remained pointed to the street ahead of her. I look ahead and savor the cool air blowing over my face. This is probably the calmest moment I've had since About Face my life took so recently. Since the About Face, okay, my bad. My bad, folks, but that is a nice scenery, the wonderful background alongside the wonderful individual. To have it while walking to get some groceries. What a weird life. I feel the crumbed up note rubbing against my hand in my pocket and pull it out to check its contents. Let's see here. Eggs, bread, cereal, thyme, lettuce, shaved ham. Wait, those one aren't there? That sounds like quite a bit to carry back along with your own. Yeah, just how much does this girl eat anyways? My mind suddenly clicks that, yes. There actually is a person beside me. Wait, I mean... She laughs wholeheartedly. My, Hisao. Her giggles punctuate her words, though she's making little effort to suppress them. Quite direct today, aren't we? Yeah, you got me there, still it is quite a bit. Usually I go shopping with Hanako, so I know what she buys. It's the same thing every week. Huh? She a good cook? She gives a nervous giggle. It's usually me who ends up cooking. I used to do so for Akira, so it's no problem for doing it for Hanako as well. You can cook? But... A short hum with an amused lilt emanates from beside me. I wonder if the fact that she seems amused by my comments so often is actually genuine, or rather just from a want to make me more comfortable in addressing her blindness. There are ways around it. Some meals are more difficult to cook than others because of being unable to see what I'm doing. But it usually only takes a bit more time. Fingers can double as very useful measuring tools, for example. It makes sense, but she'd have to be pretty careful not to hurt herself, with knives especially. I wonder how many times that's happened, given that it sounds like she's cooked alone for possibly years while Akira worked and her parents were gone. With that, the conversation trails off. Compared to the awkward silence of Hanako, Lily seems generally content to say what she thinks and stay quiet when there's nothing to say. The slick road under my feet is bathed in an orange glow, the occasional fallen leaf crunching under feet as we walk. I let out a deep yawn, my leg was sleep coming back to haunt me. Did you not get much sleep last night? I couldn't sleep at all for the past 2 nights. Probably insomnia. Lily's face suddenly becomes worried. It feels like a personal failure every time she gets worried about my well-being, even if it's generally nice to know someone cares. You have insomnia? Aren't you going to see the nurse about it? Nah, no real need to. It's happened before a few times. My meds screw with my sleeping occasionally. Ah, I'm sorry. Come on, it's not your fault. And it is I shouldn't have any trouble getting to sleep tonight. You do worry me sometimes. I worry you? I reach around and scratch the back of my neck. I kind of want to address this. Hey, Lily. I don't mean to sound weird, but please try to forget about my heart condition. She looks kind of lost. I hardly blame her. I don't think one can just forget about that kind of thing. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, don't treat me differently because of it. She bows her head slightly, her white cheeks reddening almost imperceptibly. It's only natural way about those around you. Well, it's still nice to know there's someone out there, someone like that out there. It may be somewhat embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. Lee takes a breath to regain her composure and manages a gentle smile through her cheeks remain flushed. The final downhill walk to the store passes in silence. Welcome. I suppose I'll get my stuff first and Hanako's on the second round. I grab 2 well-worn red baskets from the stack beside the entrance and pass one to Lee. Wait, did Hanako give us any money for her stuff? Just as she did before, she lays it on the ground and slides her retracted cane between the basket's handles before picking it back up with her right hand. When she takes hold of my arm in her own, I'm surprised at just how fast this kind of casual contact became so natural, mostly due to necessity, no doubt. Shall we? Sure. While we navigate around the store, the odd person occasionally passing us pays us no heed at all. It's nice, compared to the stares and whispers around the city, yeah. As we reach each aisle, I quickly check with Lily what she needs and grab it along with what I want, putting our items in their respective baskets. It's an odd feeling to be dependent on so much for something so basic as shopping. Hanako would be practically a necessity for her to pick up what she wants after all. Right, I'm pretty much done with both my stuff and Hanako's. Needing anything? Sorry, you needing anything else, Lily? No, this should be everything. Off we go then. Oddly, there's a queue a mile long considering the store's only large enough to want one counter. Seems like it will take a while. Damn. Lily gives an inquisitive look, unable to see the reason of my complaint. The queue's really long. Looks like we'll have to wait. How strange. Showing the same mood of resignation, we reluctantly take our place at the end of the line. One person finishes, the line moves up. Another person finishes, the line moves up. By the time we finally reach the head of the line, I'm so close to dozing off that Lily has to gently pat me on the back for me to move up. Hi, Sal. Hi, Sal. Oh, sorry. She gives a short sigh of consternation as I move up, getting the groceries for Hanako and me put into separate bags. Thank you. Please come again. By the time we emerge from the store, Lily's holding a single bag while I struggle to carry 4. Both hands well and truly full. It's a lot of work, but thankfully items in them are light. Even without looking skyward, it's obvious there's a surprising amount of time passed, the road outside being dark and lit by street lamps. Once Lily retrieves her cane, we can set out back to the dormitories the way we came, leaving the welcoming warm glow of the store. Despite the road being empty of cars, the 4 bags abundantly make up for the lack of noise, constantly clunking and squeaking together. My, Hisao. It's good to find that you're eating well. I'm a growing guy after all. I need to eat all I can. It must be nice being a man. Why? But what? Seemingly not noticing or ignoring my surprise at a completely out of left field comment, she continues on without missing a beat. Weight doesn't really bother when you're eating most of the time. Are you sure about that one? I get what you mean. Women tend to worry about stuff like that more than we do, I guess. Exactly. It makes me somewhat envious, to be honest. Well, it's not like we can outright ignore it. With an affirmative nod, we continue our walk. That's right. What is it? Hanako mentioned your birthday was earlier this year. Do anything special for it? She gives a long pause, lost in thought for a few seconds. She recalls the event. Not really. It was just Hanako and me having a little party during the night after school. Your birthday's supposed to be a big event, you know. Sounds like a pretty lonely way to spend a birthday, just her and Hanako staying overnight. Birthdays always felt like a family occasion for me. There were a time when, in spite of their full-time jobs, both my parents would make an effort to be there for the day or at least for a party beforehand. It reminds me of how Lily mentioned she hadn't seen her family in such a long time and even ended up moving away from Akira's house afterwards. But I guess it's the same in situations as mundane as these, considering her inability to read the packaging. Just getting groceries would be a pain without somebody else around. In the end, she just has me and Hanako, and Akira when she's off from work. Be that as it may, she still seems to have many more distant friends among the students, not to mention people like Yuko. It seems to be her own choice that there's such a separation between those who are close to her and those who she only socializes with. It humbles me to a little see how much Lily seems to have her life set up and going just as she wants. Are you sure about that one? Yet Hanako is there for her to celebrate her birthday, and I'm here helping her with shopping. It's a weird kind of symbiosis, I suppose. Are you alright, Hisao? Sorry? You just seem to go very quiet, that's all. Sorry, I was just thinking. Oh? Now I've piqued her curiosity. It feels kind of overly personal to talk about, though. What would said curiosity be, I would rather think. Let's see, let's tell the truth, actually. Let's go forwards and tell the truth, honestly. That would be a bit more, I was going to say earnest, but more honest to Lily, rather than avoiding the subject in hand. Tell the truth. I was thinking about how you seem to have everything so sorted out. Even with Hanako relying on you, I can remember that even I kind of relied on you when I first transferred in. I think it's a good quality to have. I turned to Lily, surveying her reaction. She's forcing herself to look forward and frowning quite furrowing her brow quite a bit. Her face looks a bit awkward, as if she was just trying to find just the right words. Lily? I would thank you, but it seems that I don't rely on the presence of others is too much. You'd be wrong to think that Hanako simply depends on me with nothing in return. She seems to have a bit of trouble saying it, even though it's largely what I thought already. If she's tried so hard to maintain her independence, as anyone would have had to in her position, sighted or not, maybe she finds it hard to talk about her own needs. It's only now that I realise an omission in what she says, though. I decided to follow it up, largely in jest to avoid things getting too personal. Oh, and what about me? She suddenly runs ahead of me and turns back, blocking me off. With a smile, she holds her hands behind her as she leans forward. You're different. And with that, she turns back and continues to walk ahead of me, a newfound spring in her footstep. All I could do is raise an eyebrow and give a dazed grin. I don't think I've ever seen this playful and teasing side of her before. Teasing, yes, but not playful. So I'm different. It's hard to work out the exact context, but knowing her, this ambiguity was intended. Our relationship has been changing, at the very least, simply because I've begun to stand on my own feet more and started getting more curious about the situation of those around me. As to why? Probably a mix of personal curiosity, and I want to try and work out how to deal with my situation. I'm less sure of Lily, though. That's why her own statement, so similar to my own feelings towards her, throws me off so much. Watching her make her way up to the street, cane tapping from left to right, I decided to settle the matter later and just smile. This is a nice side to her, and I don't want to forget it. Eventually we get to the girls' dormitories, both my arms aching from the weight of 2 sets of groceries. We're finally here. Whew. I bend down to wipe my forehead with the back of my hand. Lee stops in front of her door and sets down her bag, fishing around her pocket for the key. Thank you, Hisao. I really appreciate your help. This is nothing. This is nothing at all. I can handle more. No, I can't handle more. It might be nothing to you, but it's definitely something for me. And with that, she steps through her door, closes it behind her. I blink. Those were nothing but honest thanks, but I can't help feeling something different about them. Anyway, I have something else to do before I can mull on that at my leisure. I turn back to the door to Hanako's room and proceed to knock twice in quick succession, the bag still in my hand rustling together. Hello, Hanako. After a couple of seconds, the door slowly opens. If one weren't looking closely, they could be forgiven for thinking it hadn't moved at all. I twist my head to the side to try and peer through the tiny sliver of a gap between the door and the door frame. Hey, Hanako, I've got your stuff. Ah! With that, she opens the door completely, making a plain room visible over her shoulder. Sparsely decorated, it's probably even more unremarkable than my room. I hold up my right arm with both bags, almost pulling it straight back down with their weight. Thank you, Hisao. I'm sorry to make you carry them all this way. It's fine, don't worry. Just don't make me do it every day, okay? I pass the bags to her as I give a light-hearted chuckle. After the initial transfer of weight, she managed to take them easily. I'll be off then. Night, Hanako. Good night, see you in class tomorrow. Aw, closing a smile like that, how dare you? With a deep bow, her groceries still held in both hands, she steps back and shuts the door. Making my way back to my own dorm, I put one bag in my hand to balance them out. Even as I do so, I can't get Lily's light-hearted smile out of my mind. When I first met her, it would be nearly impossible to imagine her like that. Indeed, it feels like we've become close in the past few weeks since I've first got to know both her and Hanako. The time I spent with her each day, the small exchanges of happiness we share, those moments, small moments of joy as I get closer to her. I'm far from certain, but I don't think these are just the normal feelings of friendship. Once I return to my room, I store away my groceries and begin getting ready for the night. And with the letter in hand, for goodness sakes, I swap the school books in my bag for those I'll need tomorrow, pulling out the yellow envelope Misha gave me earlier in the process. I got so sidetracked by one thing after another that I couldn't deal with it either. Who could have written me? I wonder. The name neatly adorning the back of the envelope freezes me in my tracks. It's been so long since I've seen her writing. There's little chance I could have identified it as hers otherwise. Iwanako. Why should she have written me? I can't think of any good reason for her to do this. I wasn't open the letter, but there'd be little point to that. If I just left it alone, its mere existence would gnaw at me until I did something about it. I sweat profusely, awaiting the dreaded moment. Each tick of a clock tenses my muscles that much more, every minute making more hairs stand on end. It's coming for me, I can feel it. What the hell? Death in the form of a single sheet of paper? Oh hi, I take the small pile of papers from the student in front of me and pass it backwards after plucking off the top piece. Looking to the top right of the page, I find my fears realized within that small red circle. 43? Oh gosh. I hang my head and sigh in resignation, cursing under my breath. I can feel the awe of a similar sentiment rising from the entire class. It's strange, but the fact lifts my mood by a minuscule amount. Misery loves company, I suppose. As the teacher opens her mouth, the room embraces the inevitable onslaught. Only to be saved by the last-minute bell. We quickly move to collect our bags and leave for lunch post-haste, but the teacher delivers a parting broadside. We'll be discussing the test scores next lesson. Needs to say, there will be quite some discussion to be had. A collective groan resounds from the class, now reduced to shuffling out dejectedly. You may as well just stay for a few minutes more to get the test result discussions out, so that you don't have to think about it for the next time. I push the sheet into my bag as I walk along the hallway, crumpling it in the process. It's enough that such a troublesome letter ended up on my desk yesterday. Now this! I hate English! Hisao. A stern female voice gleefully calls out behind me. I freeze on the spot, my face becoming like stone. It's as if I can feel my brain disconnected from my body. My eyes slowly shift right, trying to catch a glimpse of the disembodied voice. Nothing. My face begins to slip as time passes, and I decide to risk turning my head ever so slowly. I twist it to the... I jump into the air and drop my bag, yelling out in surprise. As I recover and regain my composure, turn to see, I should have known. Emmy? Gotcha, Hisao. She stands there with a mischievous grin on her face, hands forward and fingers pointed inwards. She was the one who jabbed my ribs with a finger. I looked down at her with a grimace, rubbing my hair in frustration. That's no way to greet someone, you know. You have no sense of humor. You have no sense of humility. I left my sense of humor in my English class, complained to the teacher if he wanted to give him back to me. She pulls her best puppy dog eyes on me as she pouts. Lily's managed to build up my resistance to the tactic, but Emmy's short stature adds enough to the effect to make me relent. So how are things? I haven't seen you around for a while. Same old, I run so fast nobody wants to join my morning runs. Is that a hidden message to say that we should join you? It's a real pain. Her modesty never fails to amuse me. Although... You know what I'm thinking, don't you, Hisao? Wearing my emotions on my sleeve is one of my worst habits. She seems right through me. Fortunately, I see somebody else approaching us that will give me an out. Oh, hi, Hanako. I give her a welcoming wave and try my best at looking like I haven't noticed Emmy's pouting face. She gives a small wave back. Hello, Hisao. Emmy. Hey, Hanako. I join you and Lily in a sec. Actually, speaking of lunchtime company, it's hard to see you without Rin, Emmy. Ah, Rin! Thank you, Rin, for something. Without a second word, she forgets about all us and bolts off up the hallway. She must have forgotten she was waiting for her. Oh dear. Hanako and I stand speechless, only able to helplessly stand and watch this ball of seemingly boundless energy dash off. Oh yeah, hi Sal. She suddenly stops herself damn it! Just before vanishing around the corner of the rooftop staircase, spinning around to meet our bemused faces. I hate English too. Okay, that's not what I expected, but okay. And with that, she disappears. All I can do is hang my head and give a long sigh, thoroughly left in the dust. As I hear a short giggle coming from behind me, I turn to see Hanako smiling at the corner of my attack around it. I pick up my dropped bag from the floor and quickly dust it off. Afternoon. Been busy? You don't like English? No. I had a test on it a while back, and Emily caught me brooding about the results. Sorry. She averts her gaze, guilt written on her face. A casual observer would think she just actually reminded me of a dead relative. Come on, it's not your fault. How are you doing in it? She looks up, though still avoids meeting my eyes. Alright, I suppose. An awkward silence passes. They seem all too common around Hanako. I really asked you'd like to join us for lunch on the roof. I guess I don't exactly have any pressing engagements to attend to. Sure, I'll be right up. I'll go get my lunch from the cafeteria now then. Go on, you don't need my approval to leave, you know. Okay, I'll be going then. That's a bit forceful, Hisao. She gives a skittish reply, a small nod, and quickly makes off towards the cafeteria. I guess she must have gotten to bring lunch today. As I walk through the hallways, more and more students start to come out of classrooms and past me, going in the same direction as Hanako went. By the time I manage to make it to the stairs, I am having to push my way past the busily chatting front students. I finally manage to get past the last of the crowd and round the staircase, slumping slightly in relief and slowing my pace before I open the door to the roof. Ah, damn. I momentarily avert my eyes, all but blinded by the harsh summer sun. And more than I expected, okay? As I slowly regain my vision, the surroundings finally take form. Lily, Emmy, and Rin sit together on the rooftop. The top of a hilltop forest around Yamako visibly past the fence around them. It's as if to frame the view. Ah, hi, Sal. Lily and Rin give a quick acknowledgement and a deep nod of greeting respectively. I start walking towards the rather mismatched trio. I can't help marveling at the speed with which Emmy devours the rest of her half-eaten banana. Hey, strange to see you three together like this. It seems to have been quite the day of coincidences. Emmy and Rin decided to eat on the roof just as Hanako and I decided to. You stole it. This spot was ours. Simmer down. You can't steal a place in the school. I plump myself down beside Lily, the four of us creating a semicircle. I think she is right. You too? The butterfly is her compass. As I glance around, sure enough a small yellow butterfly floats across my field of vision. So tell me, how does this butterfly help Lily steal this spot? It scouted out our conversation and told her. That makes no sense! Butterflies can't speak! Full stop, period! I should have known better than expect sound reasoning from Rin. Regardless, I guess it wouldn't help to play along. You're telling me that she can talk to butterflies? There are people who can talk to horses, called horse whisperers. Lily must be a butterfly whisperer. I bury my head in my hands as Emmy rounds her strange companion. She doesn't seem to share Rin's sense of humour. Whisperers don't work like that. Emmy and Rin continues their banter as I turn to Lily, who's busily finishing off her small box of curry and rice. So what brought you up here anyway? A little fresh air every now and then doesn't hurt. Ah, Emmy breaks off from her vain attempts to introduce the concept of logic to Rin. That was why we came up here too. Every day, Emmy. Sally tells her it was her idea alone, and that Rin only got dragged up here on Emmy's whim. Then again, the same could probably be said of Lilly and Hanako. Now, we can share. The creaking of the door to the roof can be heard as soon as she says the words. A moment's silence falls over us as everyone's attention focuses on the figure appearing from it. Hanako! Hanako slowly walks over to us, her eyes pinned to the ground, silently ruining the attention she's attracting. She tenses just barely when her eyes meet Rin's. I can't help raise an eyebrow as she walks over to us and sits next to me, doing her utmost to avoid looking up even as she brings her cafeteria bread to her mouth. So how do you and Emmy know each other anyways? Emmy's somewhat well known around the school for her athletic ability. She's the fastest member of the track and field club by some margin, even beating Miki Mayura at the track meet last week. Miki Mayura, the tanned girl from the front of my class. Considering her height and toned body, being able to beat her is quite an accomplishment. Looking over to Emmy, it's very clear she's well aware of this fact as she beams proudly. So, Hisao, what was your score in English? Ouch. No comment. Boo! She puffs her cheeks and pouts, but doesn't take long for her to bounce back. Alright, if I tell you mine, you have to tell me yours, deal? Fine, fine. Okay, on the count of 3, both say our results. 1, 2, 3, there's going to be a trick. 32. I beam a mischievous grin. Aw, evil, 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 evil! You said it, not me. Still, the fact that you managed an even lower score than me is kind of amazing. Grr! She looks and sounds like a small terrier growling at an intruder. I can't say it's the most threatening sound I've seen. Either way, scoring higher than 32 isn't something to boast about, much less scoring below it for any subject. Yes, Lily. Sorry, Lily. I could help you through English if you'd like. It would be my pleasure to... No, that's fine, but I appreciate the thought, really. Lily looks slightly deflated. Her hopes of imparting her knowledge dashed. Judging from the badly hidden laughter of the rest of us, neither she nor Emmy seem to have garnered too much pity. As I sit happily laughing through, I feel my voice suddenly cut off as my chest clenches. I sit in silence for a few seconds, all my concentration forced on my heartbeat. It's only a small pain, but the ache feels like it's growing. Breathe deeply. Breathe deeply. I glance upward to try and keep at least some of my attention on my surroundings, to see Emmy suddenly freezing when she noticed the expression of my pain on my face out of the corner of her eye. Hey, Hisao, are you okay? Yeah, I'm... fine. I look back down and redouble my efforts to try and stay calm, clenching my fist to try and dull the pain. It takes a short while, but the pain, faintly, begins to fade. When I look back up, there's only silence and pensive faces to be seen. I guess I'd better explain myself. Arrhythmia. I'm fine, it's just a heart flutter. Are you sure? Should we get the nurse? Taking her cue, Hanako quickly picks herself up and begins to dash to the door. Hanako, stop! Lily, I'm fine. You look like a wet, wrinkled tomato. Huh? As I bring my hand to my forehead, I can feel the beads of sweat gathered on it, and dab them off from my cuff. Thanks, I told you. I'm fine. I'm just kind of fragile, I guess. The entire atmosphere changed from one of anxiety to down forecasts, the situation being too awkward for anyone to know exactly how to react. And of course, the whole thing is thanks to me. It just had to happen now around others. Oh, Emmy? She looks up, a box of juice halfway to her mouth. I haven't told you my score yet, have I? Well, yeah, you're half fallen, so your score doesn't count anyway. That hurts. Lift an eyebrow and I inquisitively turn to Lily. What was your test result anyway? She gives a cheeky grin. How do you get 100%? There's no such thing as a perfect score. There's always room for improvement in anything. Anyways. No way, all I could do is hang my mouth open in wonder. Considering those tests are insane even for some native speakers, I could only imagine she's gone and done something like committing to mind part of the dictionary, a gift for rote memorization, maybe. That's... See? Only someone part foreign could get a score that good. See... Lily and I grin at Emmy's expense. Her reaction identical to mine when I first tripped on that little landmine. Lily's foreign ancestry does raise a point, though. Ah, that's right. You leave tomorrow for Scotland, don't you? That's correct. Emmy heard some rumours about it. It seems word's spreading quickly, considering I only told a friend in my class a couple of days ago. It must be so nice to go halfway around the world on a holiday. Hey, could you buy me something while you're there? No. Don't be too shy now. Lee gives a light-hearted giggle, evidently fully expecting Emmy's bluntness. The rest of the lunch continues much the same as before, but jauntiness from before my heart flutter thankfully returning in full. As everyone files off with their appropriate farewells, only Lily and I are left. Hey Lily? She packs the last of the things into her bag and clips it shut before perking her head up slightly. Thanks for breaking the silence back there. I kinda wanted to stop it, but didn't really know how to. As much as I'd like to sound less morose about it, the letter from yesterday, screwing up a test result so badly in class, and now my heart making things very hard indeed. She gives an indulgent smile and nods. Hope she hasn't picked up on it, but knowing her, it's unlikely that she hasn't. Emmy's strong, but only human. We do worry about you, Hisao. Hold on. Why'd I worry you? We had this conversation before, haven't we? Becoming uncomfortably serious. Hisao, we are not ignorant of your situation. Unlike Emmy. She suddenly cuts herself short, unsure whether she should say what she intends to. I give a weak smile and rest my hand on her shoulder. Don't. It's enough that I worry about it. I don't want you all to just shoulder my burden. But if you're worried about it, I have to worry about you. You're worrying, if that makes sense. I'm fine, okay? For a moment she looks to be lost in thought, carefully pondering how to react. Hisao, do you have any paper left from your food's packaging? I think so, I'll just check. I rummage around in my bag for the leftovers from lunch, evidently finding a paper square for my sandwich packaging. My eyebrow raises and my expression rather quizzical. I gently place the square into Lily's hand. Without another word, she brings her fingers around it to feel out its edges. This should be large enough. With both of us seated on the roof, the minutes to the lesson ticking away, she proceeds to lay the item on the ground and begin her work in earnest. Wrapped in silence, I watch her fingers move around on the small square with amazing dexterity. A small fold here, a large fold there. Her fingertips kept a slow but sure pace. Looking up, her expression is calm and placid. The fact that her face is pointed well above the sheet in front of her makes the sight of her work all the more curious. Her shoulders slump a bit after finishing one final fold, her work apparently done. It's only when she holds the item up in her hands that I realise what it is. I thought so. It's an origami. A small origami crane. Very talented work, that is. Light brown thanks to the packaging used, the result looks quite delicate and precise. You can do origami? I taught myself how to do it when I was younger. It improved my dexterity a bit. A little baffled, I carefully take the small bird from her pale cupped hands, as if it would break from the slightest breath. It seems to be folded quite well, and holds its shape easily. We both grab our bags and head out the door, Lily extending her cane as she does so. I hold Lily's handiwork up to my face for further inspection while we look down the hallway, her hand running along the silver handrails for orientation. If she taught herself origami to improve her dexterity with the use of her hands, meaning so much to her given her condition, so that's it. I smile as I realise the bird's meaning. Everyone here has had to find their own ways of dealing with their conditions. You aren't alone here when you have problems. Thanks, Lily. I appreciate this. She gives a sweet smile and nod, not using words where none need to be used, in her typical manner. All I ask is that you take care of yourself, Hisao. Don't worry. I will. Promise? Promise. And with that we part ways. To be honest, I don't know what annoys me more, the fact that I could die at any moment, or the fact that everyone knows that. I guess I'll just take each day as it comes, as the unexpected present in my hand reminds me, I'm not alone here. Even though I may be like this, I'm not alone. If they worry, if anyone worries, I'll smile. But a smile is just a facade to pain. Because the happiest of people usually tend to be hiding something throughout that smile. I'll smile enough for all their worries to go away. That's not the case. Being friends with somebody over an extensive period of time means that you worry for that said person. It's not something that goes away because you want it to go away. Friends worry about each other because that's what friends do. The moment the bell rings out, a collective sigh of relief comes from everyone. Much of the morning's been taken up by a droning lecture on stoichiometry, a topic, and I don't even know how to pronounce that honestly, entirely unbefitting of the insufferable heat permeating the classroom. Not even attempting to teach anything more would be an exercise in futility. Muta gives up and begins clearing the teacher's materials from his desk for the day. As meaningless banter starts filling the classroom, I notice Hanako getting up and coming to my desk. She's been a lot less withdrawn lately, something which gives me a small measure of satisfaction. Hello, Hisao. Hey, want to go pick up Lily then? It's close to the time when she'd need to get going if she's going to make the flight. About that. She said she might be held up by up a bit by her classmates. I suppose it makes sense. Her class usually gets off a little earlier than ours, so Lily would normally have just come to our classroom. Her class must be sending her off. Well, never mind. We can wait outside her classroom for once, right? She gives a small giggle before nodding. The two of us taking our things and leave for classroom 32. Whatever it says! When we reach our destination, I stop in idle amusement at the scene inside. One of the short girls from the class has Lily wrapped in an enthusiastic hug. Her head no higher than Lily's chin. Her other friends, of which there are several, are gathered around as well. Lily simply smiles kindly and hugs her back. I guess Lily must be pretty popular compared to Shizune's harsh but fair dictatorship of Class 33. Lily seems more like a mother figure of Class 32, to say nothing of her height and looks. Kenji's pointed cool demeanor as he picks up his things and at his seat in the back corner of the classroom is expected. He's no doubt far from a fan of a fuss being made about Lily's leaving. Looking beside me and seeing Hanako's following my gaze, I decided to finally enter the room. Afternoon, Lily, it's just me and Hanako. Hanako withers noticeably when exposed to the din being made around Lily. Try as she might, I doubt she'll ever completely get over her social anxiety. Hello. Lily manages to work out her position reasonably well, her classmate detaching herself without a second word. A look of slight exasperation is written on Lily's face, but I can't say I blame her. Hello, Hisao. Hanako, do we have much time before the flight leaves? I give a quick glance at my watch, taking the trip to the airport into account. There's a good 10, maybe 15 minutes left, while still allowing the contingencies. Yeah, we still have a few minutes to kill. I wouldn't worry about missing it yet. Ah, is this Hanako? Uh-oh, I think we just inadvertently become entangled in Lily's social web. The girl is probably part of the legally blind faction of the class like Kenji, given her almost wide pane-like spectacles. Her short, roughly cut hair gives her a look that fits her excitable expression. Hello, She takes Hanako's hands and pulls up and down enthusiastically. I really don't get how girls can be so sociable to someone that they only know as a friend of a friend. While Hanako exchanged nervous greetings, I look around the room for my short and overdressed next-door neighbour. Try as I might, he seems to have slipped out of the classroom without anyone noticing. For a moment, I try to think of possible career paths that could reasonably benefit from a single skill before putting my mind to more pertinent matters. Lily seems pleased, if somewhat guarded, about the enthusiasm Hanako suddenly excited for those around her. She might not see it, but Hanako is much less panicked about the affair than I had anticipated. She knows that this classroom is fitting for those who have impaired eyesight, so they can't see her scar in her face or much less of it. Shuffling my way through the gaggle of classmates, I eventually managed to reach her. Don't worry, Hanako's fine. Thank you. I thought she might be overwhelmed by them. Don't worry, we'll be gentle. Both of us grimace in unison. Hanako's nervous grin stays plastered on her face as another couple of girls moves in to meet her. It's kind of amazing that even just a month ago she'd never be able to cope with a situation such as this. Even when I first met her, the two of us completely alone, she sprinted from the library. So, got everything you need? It's all packed. I just have to go by my room to pick it up on the way, and Hanako and I need to change. I guess we'd better get going then. Hanako? Hanako's head flicked up towards us in a flash, her face rather mistakenly appreciating the chance to that word herself from the small group gathered around her. Coming. The long taxi ride to the airport was surprisingly pleasant, despite the three of us being rather squished together to fit in the small back seat. On the other hand, maybe despite isn't the right word. Lily pays the fare to the driver as we file out, Hanako's eyes flittering left and right. Thankfully, there aren't too many people around, most of them being inside the main building rather than milling around outside. And it isn't hard to spot Akira and Hideaki leaning against a fence while talking to pass the time. A large black travel bag, complete with wheels and travel handle, leans against the fence alongside them. Hideaki is the first to notice us, pointing us out to Akira, who gives an over-enthusiastic wave. Hey. I grab Lily's travel bag for her as we go to meet the two, earning a nod of appreciation. I've got all my stuff here. You got yours? Plane ticket as well? Don't worry, I have everything. You? Yep, all ready to go. Not about some problems along the way, I might add. Hey! The snide remark has his head roughly dragged away by a very firmly clamped hand. I can't imagine so. Like, it's not nice to just delve into some people's goodness sakes. Yeah, I kind of sort of forgot it was in my trouser pockets. Trousers that I put in the wash. Oh no. Don't worry. Did you know you could print out tickets if you order online nowadays? It's really cool. Hideaki's pained expression says that this wasn't a solution found quickly. It could have been worse, I guess. We better start off then. Check-ins should be ready now. Ah yeah, you're right. There's a certain amount of wistfulness in both their voices, to say nothing of the people left behind. Meeting their family again after all these years would be big for them. Lily? Hanako wraps Lily in a gentle hug to say goodbye, one which is warmly reciprocated. Lily and I share a brief hug afterwards, each of us saying our goodbyes. Besides us, Akira and Hideaki break off from a small hug and a word or two between them. It would probably look quite nice if not for the almost comical height difference between the two. Lily takes a hold of her sister's arm. Once all that needs to be said in farewells is said, the two are walking past the huge glass doors. Goodbye, Hisao, Hanako. See ya! Don't do anything stupid, shorty. We wave at them until they disappear from the sight in the throng of people moving about inside, and then we're alone. Well, that's that. I turn to see Hideaki already beginning to walk off. See you! He throws a hand in the air in a manner that I expected of Akira. In the end, it's just Hanako and me left standing outside. I rest my hand on her shoulder. She absent-mindedly gazes towards the front doors of the building, as if she might catch a glimpse of either of the two before we disappear. Don't worry, but time will pass fast. She hesitates for a moment, but eventually nods. With the scorching heat of the sun beaming down on us, we make our way to the nearby bus stop. It's strange, really. Just when I begin to see Lilly differently, she leaves on what almost feels like a pilgrimage to the past. In a way though, that's just what I've been doing since coming to Yumako. As much as I may reflect on everything that's happened to me, I really am hardly unique. Everyone has their own circumstances and separates paths to get where they are now. Yet I still can't really work out how I should proceed. My life may be practically being reset. And I still can't find anything that satisfactorily fills the hole I still feel in myself. Maybe Lilly's leaving will be a good thing for me. Without her to lean on, I'll need to do more for myself. I'll have to be there for Hanako as well. It feels strange to have so much changing so quickly after my months in that hospital that seemed to exist so separately from reality. But that's all the more reason for me to keep focused. I can't let any opportunity slip out of my fingers in my attempt to rebuild my life. Well then, let's see if that is going to come to fruition then. In Act 3, which is... okay, a helping hand. Present. So it was past, now it's present. What will Act 4 be? Future? Something along those lines? Right folks, we're going to be leaving things from this, and we'll be seeing each other the next time. So, as this is Lilly's route, I imagine that the passage of time will be much more advanced through at some point when we eventually see Lilly again face to face than it would be of Hanako's route, where it would just be immediately after seeing, well, saying our goodbyes to Lilly. To Lilly, I mean. So thank you all so much for watching, folks, and see you all in the next time of Katawa Shoujo. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care of yourselves.